Hello, everyone. Welcome to Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from Apple Valley. I'm Steve,
I'm Scott, and I'm not in the backyard.
but he's back. Scott's
Yeah, I'm back.
back.
Yeah,
Proof of life. He's alive.
re-engaging.
You were down and out for a bit, man, from what you were explaining.
Yeah, I haven't been sick for a long, long time, but this one hit me pretty good. So
Yeah, and your wife too hit her hard too.
yeah, that was inevitable. I mean, we've been hanging out, pretty much inseparable for the last week and a half or so, and so that was just one of those deals. So hopefully she'll.
Man, I limped along, and I can't tell you how glad I am to have you back, Scott. I am.
You look like you're in the dark.
Yeah, sorry. I'm in the backyard. How's that? A little bit better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'm gonna straighten up. Okay. All right, here we go. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation announced that it discovered a city under the ice. A low-orbit satellite flying over Antarctica discovered a heat bloom under the ice pack that was previously not present. The location was at the Razorback Point whaling station at Bovatoya. The settlement mysteriously disappeared, that whaling station, the people, in 1904. 120 years later, of the 24 explorers to visit the city under the ice, only one survivor emerged with a strange scar on her face. Okay, that was the storyline to Alien v Predator. I couldn't help myself. One of my favorite sci-fi movies. But for reals, though, NASA has rediscovered an old Cold War U.S. Army base under the Greenland ice sheet. Would you like to know more?
Yeah, this is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of this, and sorry, but I didn't catch your Alien versus Predator movie, so you caught me off guard. So Camp Century was an Arctic United States military scientific research base in Greenland, situated 240 kilometers, 150 miles east of Pudikvik Space Base. When built, Camp Century was publicized as a demonstration for affordable ice cap military outposts and a base for scientific research. According to documents classified in 1996, Camp Century was a preliminary camp for Project Iceworm, whose goal was to install a vast network of nuclear missile launch sites that could survive a first strike. Missiles were never fielded at the facility, and obtaining the necessary consent from the Danish government to do so was never broached.
So you can see on the graphic we have here on the left, this is a plan view, bird's eye view looking down, and basically they're just tunnels dug into the ice. You got that main center tunnel, and then you got these offshoot tunnels, and they had a place for sewage. The poop will go out, and they'd have the ramp going up to the surface. And, in usual fashion, we lied to the Danish government, and said it's for scientific, when in reality it was supposed to be for missiles. And I guess if it ever came to that point, then we would have fessed up the Danish government and asked permission to store missiles there. But yeah, it was abandoned. We're going to get into that. But I thought you can see on Greenland where it's located, on the right side of this picture, this graphic. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like northwest.
Northwest. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to find out what's underneath all that ice pack. What's the topography look like? That would be really interesting. Okay, Here we are. Back.
How low the ice goes.
Yeah. So buried under 30 meters of ice and snow, that's about 90 feet, 92 feet. Camp Century was built in 1959 by cutting a series of 21 tunnels for 3 kilometers under the ice. Dubbed the city under the ice, it was supposedly built to test sub-ice construction techniques. In reality, it had a very different purpose. It was meant as a secret launch site for ballistic missiles, but was never fully completed. After 8 years, it was abandoned in 1967. The ice was not as stable as originally thought and started crushing the site, making it unusable. So I guess the ice was moving around. The U.S. left behind 200,000 liters of diesel fuel and millions of liters of sewage, poo, that no one wanted to clean up. Everyone assumed that it would all be trapped permanently within the ice. That's kind of irresponsible, but as the ice sheet melts, those contaminants could start permeating through to the ground.
Yeah, that's not being very ecologically sound, huh?
Especially in someone else's backyard, we're just going to leave it by.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
So NASA's Chad Green and Alexander Gardner spotted the camp while mapping the ice sheet. They were attempting to predict future sea level rise and were surprised when their radar suddenly detected the hidden city. This is a quote. "We were looking for the bed of ice and out pops Camp Century," said Gardner. Again, quote, "We didn't know what it was at first. For years, the site's location was not a secret. NASA has detected the camp before, but never in such detail. Previous maps have only shown it in 2 dimensions. But NASA's UAVAR, Uninhabited Aerial Vehicle Synthetic Aperture Radar, can map both the surface layers of ice and those beneath it. And as with an ultrasound, many more details become visible." So
very interesting, this technology to,
it's pretty out there. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Individual structures in the secret city are visible in a way that we've never seen before, said Green. Although the camp was thought to be disintegrating under the weight of the ice, the radar images match those of historical maps. Ice core samples from Camp Century were used to create stable isotopes analysis used to develop climate models. Again, using stuff to create a model for future prediction. Analysis of soil contained in the sample suggests that the site was ice-free as recently as 400,000 years prior. That's very interesting, indicating a much reduced Greenland ice sheet and therefore much higher sea levels. Since 2000, I wonder if 400,000 years ago, if aerosol cans that we were using were destroying the ozone, which caused the ocean levels to recede. I wonder if that happened. Doubtful.
yeah.
Since 2017, the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland has maintained a climate monitoring presence at Camp Century with the Camp Century Climate Monitoring Program. This monitoring presence includes measuring climate variables, snow, and ice temperatures in ice-penetrating radar, surveys of the subsurface debris, and contaminant field.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
As explained by the United States Department of Defense to Danish officials in 1960, the purpose of Camp Century was to test various construction techniques under Arctic conditions, to explore practical problems with the PM2A semi-mobile nuclear reactor, and to support scientific experiments on the ice cap. Construction on the camp and the subglacial nuclear reactor began without explicit permission from the government of Denmark.
That's bad.
Yeah, not getting off to. Yeah, this is just not good here. Leading to a political dilemma for Prime Minister H.C. Hansen. The camp was in operation until 1967, when shifting ice caps made habitation impossible. Subsequently, the camp was abandoned and the remains of the facility were buried by the ice caps and ultimately were crushed by them, except for all the
poo and the gas. So they had a mobile nuclear, whatever, a nuclear reactor on wheels, whatever you want to call it. They occupied this land and didn't even get permission. And then once they got forgiveness, they set all this up and then they left all this trash. I mean, that was Lyndon B. Johnson, wasn't it?
67.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
67.
Well, in the 60s, early 60s. So Kennedy and Johnson.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if Johnson ran for a second term.
No, he didn't. He like Biden, he stepped out and then Nixon won.
So 68 would have been Nixon's first term, right?
Right, but this was started like in the early 60s, like under Kennedy.
Yeah. So this is kind of a crappy deal. And
yeah, well, no pun intended.
Yeah, if you ever seen the movie Dances with Wolves,
Yeah.
where Kevin Costner's character comes waltzing into this outdoor or outpost in, I believe it's probably in Wyoming territory. He comes upon this fort, and it's just left behind, and there's a bunch of junk and dead animals in the water, and he spends most of his first few days cleaning it all up and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of our story. We're not very tidy when it comes to stuff like this. So
Yeah, but I don't like the lying to the government, to the Danish government, and then occupying by force without permission. I don't like that at all. I mean, it's like a bully. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, well, and that, I guess, maybe that's why a lot of the world thinks of us as that way.
Yeah, true,
I don't
true.
know.
All right, when the camp was decommissioned in 1967, its infrastructure and waste were abandoned under the assumption they would be entombed forever by perpetual snowfall. Come on, guys, government guys. In 2016, however, a group of scientists evaluated the environmental impact of the abandoned facility and estimated that due to changing weather patterns over the next few decades, meltwater would release the nuclear waste, 200,000 liters of diesel fuel, a non-trivial quantity of PCBs, and 24 million liters of untreated sewage poo into the environment as early as the year 2090. Transition in ice sheet surface mass balance at Camp Century from net accumulation to net ablation is determined plausible within the next 75 years under one climate model, and after another 44 to 88 years, the buried waste could be exposed between 2135 and 2179. Man,
This is a typical. Well, we're not going to be around to see it, so let's not worry about it.
yeah, yeah,
Attitude. That's too bad. So again, another trivial story. We live pretty close to a closed Air Force base. It was an Air Force flight training base,
yeah.
and they pretty much have done the same thing there. I mean, they had issues with water supply and groundwater, pollution because of stuff that was just buried in the ground, left in the ground. And I'm not bagging on the military, but it's just the mindset. It's like nobody's got any kind of forethought. They're all thinking about now, or
Yeah.
the forethought they did have, obviously in this case, is, hey, we're not going to be here, so what's the big deal? Kind of like our present executive administration, I think that's the way he's thinking. So if he's thinking at all. Anyway, not to turn politics into this. All right, so a 2021 assessment of the future evolution of Camp Century demonstrated that meltwater never reached the base. In fact, it never penetrated more than 1.1 meter, which is that's not very deep, right?
Right.
A little over a yard.
A little over a yard, yeah.
So this data supports the determination that there is no chance for remobilization of debris and containments before year 2100, and projections have been adjusted with weather measurements from the station at Camp Century. So this is just a bad.
Yeah, crazy.
Maybe made good intentions, but the way they handled the whole thing was just a bad deal.
Yeah. Haphazard. The term haphazard comes to mind. I mean, who's in charge? I mean, we're supposed to have chain of command that, there supposed to be responsibility. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've never been to Greenland or Iceland, that part of the world, but from what I understand, it's beautiful. And why would we go in there and jack it up like that? So
yeah, we got Thule Air Base is there. Trump is jokingly joked around about buying Greenland from Denmark. So
yeah. Well, now and then the latest, of course, is he wants to turn Canada into the 51st and 52nd state. So
I think that was tongue in cheek, but Canada would never do that. I mean,
yeah,
way too big. I mean,
yeah,
that would never happen. That's kind of tongue in cheek.
Go from being a prime minister to a governor. That might be a little step down, don't you think?
And get fired right away. Yeah, so our fans, they're so glad that you're back, Scott. I mean, you saw the comments. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the thoughts and the prayers that were sent. So, yeah, hopefully on the mend, and hopefully be pretty much back to normal by next week.
Okay, well, we thank you for joining us, and Scott's back, and we've got more shows, more segments. Another interesting one on nanites. You're going to want to see this at 1300 today at 1 o'clock.
You
All
bet.
right, talk
All
to you
right.
later.
Thank you.